liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing, and let us take a moment to recognize a few first responders that were just recently killed. Firefighter Stephen Pollard from New York, who was tragically lost yesterday, and police officer Joseph Shiners. Thank you. Okay, next, the upcoming meeting, we'll have a special meeting of the Village Board, January 17th at 7 p.m. to be held at the Suffern Hose Company to discuss the line officers. Next, Village Board Workshop meeting, Monday, January 28th, 7 p.m. That's a different date. And the next Village Board meeting will be Monday, February 4th at 7. At this time, I would like to have to make a special presentation to Officers Ortiz and Adams, along with Chief Osborne, if you may step up.
Turn this a little bit. Turn them open sideways for you. How's that? You got your right up, okay?
Oh, yeah. A little awkward. Is it working? Okay, on January 7th, 2017, during the early morning hours, with wind chill temperatures at 15 below zero, Officers Ortiz and Adams responded to a report of an elderly man who had left his residence and had fallen down on Washington Avenue. The officers arrived at the scene in less than a minute and found this man injured and lying in the snow while shaking on the sidewalk with frostbite. Due to the severity of the weather and the man's deteriorating condition, instead of waiting for an ambulance, these officers picked him up and placed him in a patrol car, with one officer driving and the other officer rendering first aid in the back seat. Due to their actions and immediate response to the man was admitted to Good Samaritan Hospital and his life was saved. There is something to be said for response times here in the village of Suffern. And I can personally attest to it with this action and many other actions where I've been on the scene with the officers and the fire departments there within minutes, under 2 minutes. There is something to be said for response times here in the village of Suffern. We put a lot of patrols in a relatively small area to ensure we have fast emergency response times, which in cases like this and others in past have literally saved lives. I know it's a year later, almost to the date, but the recognition comes from the county, the PBA also. We acknowledge these facts that these officers put themselves in harm's way every day, and they're there protecting the village residents of the village of Suffern. And we all truly appreciate that. So I would like to present to them the Life-Saving Commendation Award to Police Officer Abigail Adams. Thank you and congratulations. Great job. And Officer Ryan Ortiz. Thank you very much. Great, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, very much. Thank you. Mayor, thank you very much, and to the officers, excellent job. And once again, response time is critical. And I think the mayor alluded to the fact that this happened in January 7th, and excuse me, my apologies, January 2018, Mayor, I'm sorry. It was last January. I think we put that 17 accidentally.
Yeah.
And the reason it was just acknowledged now is the Rockland County PBA dinner for the life-saving awards was just this past month in December. So we wait for the PBA recognition, which is based on a group of peers to look at all awards that are submitted to them, and this was one of the ones chosen. So good job, congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like me to go on, Mayor, with my report?
Sure, you can run right into your year-end summary if you don't mind.
Mayor and Board, first of all, thank you for your support. Secondly, just to give you a year-end report on some of the things we've been involved in here at the Suffern Police Department. In calendar year 2018, we responded to and handled 6,915 calls for service and police blotters here in the village. This year, we were noted, once again, it's been the past several years, as being the safest community in Rockland County. We came in at number 21 out of over 550 locations throughout New York State, which I think is a testament to these officers out here, the ones who have the boots on the ground and do the job. And to come in as the safest community again, we have been asked time and time again to do more with less, and we have. We've come through, the officers have done fantastic. My hat's off to them for coming in where we did. But besides crime fighting efforts, which is obviously a critical part of the police department, we do a lot more than just fight crime. And some of the things we've been actively and proactively spearheading, I use the word proactively because that's pretty much what we do here, is we anticipate problems and stop problems before they happen. We've done many community outreach programs to benefit our residents and our community. And just to start off with some of them, because I don't think people sometimes realize how much our officers, how much time they put in. I would say by far we put in the most volunteer work out of any department. I wouldn't even say just here, Rockland, anywhere I know. I deal with police departments all over, and the amount of work, volunteer work they put into this community is second to none. Our holiday toy drive, which I know some of you came over to, and I appreciate it, is absolutely massive. It's over 100 volunteers. We helped over 300 families throughout the region, and particularly throughout the village of Suffern, and we help our families who need it. Our DARE program, we have DARE officers here tonight, and we're going to be proposing a few more tonight at the workshop to develop these relationships and build these relationships with the youth of our community to prevent problems from occurring. When you get to know the children, you get to know the parents. When you get to know the parents, you get to work with them to solve problems. We have DARE dances, we have DARE hockey, we had 22 teams alone here in the village, and many of my officers here tonight coach that DARE hockey league and volunteer for me on Friday nights and Saturdays. So we have a massive amount of players in that league. We had our annual First Responder Day, which basically gave our community an opportunity to see all the units, all the agencies, and all the equipment that we utilize. We do school supply drives, Easter basket drives for our less fortunate in the village. We did a bike rodeo at Counter School this year, gave away bike helmets to a lot of the kids who couldn't afford them. Went fantastic. We do that with cooperation with the school district. We also work with our community at a lot of their events, and our school superintendent, Dr. Adams, is here, and I think he's been to some of these events. We had a barbecue at Counter School last year for the parents and kids on Olympic Day through our DARE program. We fed over 900 people. Why do I think that's important? Because it put these officers and myself in a non-enforcement role with the community, which you can't ask more from a police department, to be non-enforcement working in your community to solve these kind of problems. We do car seat installations. We haven't done them in years. We brought it back. So if a family in the village needs a car seat installed, we do it. We're one of the few departments that do that for our residents. And the last couple things, we also participate in the Rockland County REACT SWAT team. I'm actually a chair of the oversight committee of the county SWAT team. We have a 24/7 response for a whole SWAT team countywide if needed. And unfortunately, we have needed it here. And I hope we don't use it a lot, but it is a situation sometimes that come up situations-wise where we do use them. And I just want to credit all these officers one more time, because what you just saw in a life-saving award was awesome. But we've had probably 4 of those this past year alone due to response times. I have 4 documented, which will come up in the future, just due to the diligence. And it's not just the response time, it's the knowledge that these officers have and the training we get. And I thank the mayor and board for that. And I just want to let you know, we appreciate your support. We're here for much more than fighting crime, which obviously these officers do very well by our crime rates, but we're here for a lot more. and I thank you for your support, all of you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for that review. I'd like to just add a couple items onto it that I also observe here throughout the village. Click it ticket stops, the stop DWI enforcement that we get reimbursed from the county for, the truck enforcement, which is a huge enforcement policy here in the village that we conduct quarterly, I believe, taking dangerous trucks off the road, which is, that's a huge event there, down there in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
And like you said, the Narcan saves, and along with everything else you said, we appreciate it and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come back up after the vote, and I got to present my items as well. Thank you.
Very good. Where's my agenda? Next item in front of me, a resolution approving of the PBA Memorandum of Agreement and the terms and conditions of employment concerning the Chief of Police and Lieutenants. A resolution approving the PBA Memorandum of Agreement dated June 4th, 2019, and the terms and conditions of employment letters to the Chief and 2 Lieutenants. Do I have a motion to move this resolution that's in front of you? Motion. One motion, Mr. Frank Hagen. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Hertzman. I think I'd like to take a roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion on the contract, on the memo in front of you? Well, I'll bring up the discussion, and just to elaborate a little bit further on the Chief's presentation, I would like to recognize everything that we spoke about and the inherent danger the police officers are faced with every day. How when they come into work every morning, every night, every holiday, every birthday, every wedding, any party that they're missing, whatever it may be, to put on that uniform, the gun belt that goes along with it, and the bulletproof vest. As we just held a minute of silence for an officer who was just brutally gunned down, I believe the inherent dangers are possessed here in New York, in the village of Suffern, and our officers should be duly compensated for it. That is what I have to say. I highly recommend that this memorandum of agreement be recognized and passed this evening. Would anybody else like to say anything? I'll bring it up for a roll call vote. Mr. Alpert?
Although I completely agree with most of the material in this memorandum, and I'm very thankful for all the wonderful work done by the police department, I was not brought in at all for any of the negotiations, and I cannot in good faith vote on this, so I'm going to abstain at this time.
Mr. Girard?
Unfortunately, due to the timing of this agreement, similar, I'm going to abstain because since the timing of the negotiations were before we were put into office, and while I'd love to have an opportunity to be part of that, and regardless of how this vote goes, I think that will be coming up shortly because this contract is long overdue, but I'm going to have to abstain.
Ms. Hertzman?
Aye.
Mr. Hagen?
I approve.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. Well, with the abstentions on the votes, just to make the board and the audience aware that the Board of Trustees were counseled by Labor Council numerous times individually and in a group setting, in a executive session. So we take that, I take that as a no vote, and I'm glad that the motion passes. Thank you. I thank the board, the members of the board who voted in favor of it, for the quality of our police department, as I said in the past, is great. We need that response time. We need the people. We need a happy workforce. We need a workforce that is willing to dedicate their service to this community, to this village of Suffern, through their volunteerism, through their crime fighting, through everything that they produce here in the village of Suffern. It is well deserved. And that is, and I am thankful to the chief for the leadership that you provide to this department. Thank you very much. Thank you all Suffern Police Department. Sure.
On behalf of the entire police department, I would think I speak for all of them saying thank you for that contract, and I do appreciate it. We all do appreciate it. Just a couple of voting items. I asked the board to accept the resignation of Thomas Conklin, parking enforcement aide, effective January 15th, 2019.
Let me find that. No, I'm skipping because he wants to go ahead. I got it. 1 second, chief.
Okay.
We're just skipping down to the resignation. Yep. So I have a resolution accepting the resignation of Thomas Conklin as parking enforcement aide, effective January 15, 2019. Wait a minute. Right. Is there a motion on that? That's correct.
That's correct.
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by, who's the second?
Frank.
Frank? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion passes. So hold on. Go ahead, chief.
No, it's okay. Whenever you're ready.
So that's D. Go to E, correct. Next, I have a resolution appointing Thomas Conklin as dispatcher part-time, effective January 15, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. F. I have a resolution appointing Robert Condon, parking enforcement aide, part-time. Therefore, be it resolved, Robert Condon is appointed to the vacant position of parking enforcement part-time at the rate of pay of $12.50 per hour, effective January 8th. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. G. Maybe you'd like to speak to this one, to the resolution authorizing police officers David Figueroa and William Osborne to attend their officer training in Montour Falls, New York.
Yep, that's fine, but thank you. One of the things that you require when you become a DARE officer, you have a 2-week training, which is run by DARE America. New York State's training will take place this week, and these officers will be working in the R.P. Connor and Sacred Heart schools. They'll be doing a 5th grade curriculum, and also I'd like to expand on our K through 4 program as well.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Hertzman, seconded by
Hagen. Second, yes.
Hagen. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Okay, chief, you have
Thank
anything
you.
further? I have one more item of police concern, but,
You want me to stay up here now?
1 second. Let's
Well,
see.
I'm fine. I'm good with my agenda. I'm good.
Hold on, let me just find it. Listen. I have a resolution approving the PBA memorandum of agreement Oh, no, sorry. That is not the right one. You have it? I have a resolution authorizing the stipulation of settlement with the PBA dated January 7, 2019. Should have it in front of you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? Hagen,
Second.
seconded by Steve. Alpert, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Chief, for your continued dedicated service, and to your entire department.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Excuse me, I just wanted to make, before we close out on the police department items, I just wanted to make a comment. Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say respectfully, I disagree with you that by us abstaining on this contract vote, it is not a no vote. I just want to remind everybody that the negotiations of this contract took place over the summer and through the fall. And when we were elected, negotiations were pretty much finalized. So I didn't feel we had an opportunity. While we did get updated on all the details, we did not have an opportunity to sit at the table, to be part of the process. I certainly, Clerk knows this, I certainly have a deep admiration for the force here. I support highly that we have our police force here, and I admire the job that your guys do. But the board that was in place had the opportunity to vote on this, and it continued to be delayed. And Mr. Mayor, by you saying that we voted no, it's almost like you're trying to use this as a political pawn to differentiate yourself from the new members of this board. And I just don't. I did not vote no. And I look forward to the opportunity to work on the upcoming contracts. And I think this one will be coming up again real soon, because this one is delayed for quite a long time. And before you know it, we'll be looking at the next one. And I look forward to being a part of that process and voting things through. Thank you.
Just to add to that, I agree completely with Paul. And while we were advised by the attorneys representing the labor attorneys, I'm sorry, we were advised several days ago by the labor attorneys, but being that we didn't have any input into the contract, it was not, in my opinion, appropriate to vote one way or the other on the contract. Although, as I said, and I want to be clear, I appreciate everything the police does, especially Clerk, and I was in favor of the majority of what was in the contract. There might have been one or two sticking issues for me that I would have loved to discuss, and they would have been wonderful to discuss had I had the opportunity to be part of the negotiations. And as a trustee, I'm here to represent the citizens of the village, and I did not get that opportunity, and that is the only reason that I abstained, not because of any other reason. And I do appreciate deeply the work that the police do, especially both in the community, as well as keeping us safe, making sure that Suffern is the safest community in this entire county and one of the safest in the whole state. I'm very, very thankful for the police department and Clerk for that, and I want to be clear so that nothing's misconstrued. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Going to those statements, I mean, I could sit here all day and admire the police department and their actions and the things they do. As I said, the board was afforded the opportunities to sit with Labor Council, review the entire contract, pick apart the budget, have an executive session, rehash it, and go back and forth with it numerous times. There's nowhere near any type of political decision or a political pawn is being stated. This is the process that we undertake through negotiations, through the CSEA, the PBA, the dispatchers. It's a process that's in place. I thought it would be unfair for the outgoing board to actually vote on a contract that they were leaving and left the contract to be brought forward to you, to the new trustees that were being in, and brought them up to speed on the conditions of the contract, the terms and conditions, and what the police department does. I know it's been a lengthy time without a contract, and to me, that is unfair. To be out of contract for 2.5 years to no fault of, I would say no fault of mine or the villages or the PBAs, it's just the way it rolled out. Change in leadership, change in command, change in terms. This is what we have to do. We have to adapt and change and recognize those changes. I'm sort of outraged at the same time. I'm proud for the members that voted in favor of it. When I go through the list of 148 police officers that were killed in the line of duty, killed, maimed, whatever you want to say, I have the documents right here. I have them right here. I have 148 pictures of police officers that were killed, that put a vest on, that wear a gun. I understand your point if you didn't get enough time. Time is up. We had the time to review the contract, to pick it apart.
We weren't looking for more time.
We wanted to be a part of what goes into the contract, and we were never afforded that opportunity. We were only
Let us
advised what was
support the
in
police
contract.
department and let them have a fair wage. That's my point. You had your statement, this is my statement.
Well, the fact that you thought that the board was outgoing before the election, you just didn't have much confidence in the trustees that were here. Because
We
this could
had
have
the
been-
confidence in the
They weren't
trustees.
outgoing trustees then. This could have been taken care of before Election Day.
This was an ongoing, fluid contract negotiation. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Suffern Police Department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Take a moment or just...
Yeah, all right, let's take a 5-minute break. Just one open item of business here that I would like to execute the memorandum of agreement with the Suffern Police Benevolent Association's Union President, Officer Moira, and Vice President, Officer Craig Justine. Long overdue. Once again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, guys. Sure, absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, distinguished trustees, on behalf of the men and women of the Suffern PBA, please accept my sincere thanks for your part in bringing our contract negotiations to an amicable conclusion. Our members work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, answering routine calls for service and responding to life-threatening emergencies. We're all grateful and proud to serve the village of Suffern. We all look forward to doing our part in helping this department reach 200 years of service to this great village. Thank you again.
Okay. This I don't want to move. Okay. All right, this. Okay, next, public hearing. It's a continuation. It is now 7:47, a continuation of public hearing on to consider a local law to define permitted uses of pods and/or dumpsters. Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Go ahead, Mr. Magrino, please.
Sure. This has been before the board on several occasions. There were a few changes. When the new members came on, we continued it as well. This is on, I mean, I don't want, I think the term was beating it to death, but it's... right.
Try to speak a little into the mic.
Sorry.
See,
So-
it's a little low.
Okay, so where we are, really no changes from last time. Minimum of, basically this permits temporary storage containers, where really they ordinarily would not be permitted because they're a structure. Permits them for a brief period of time, 14 days without a permit. Again, to facilitate somebody maybe moving. I used an example the other day, somebody maybe selling their house. They move items into the pod, and then perhaps, a week or so later, they close and sell, and the pod is gone. There are circumstances where, from the property, there are circumstances where people may wish to have a pod for a longer period of time. In those circumstances, you can get a permit, and that's set forth in the law. And this also goes to dumpsters as well. If you have a active and valid building permit, you can have a dumpster during that time period. Otherwise, there are time constraints. Again, 14 days without a permit, but thereafter, you have to get a permit from the building department. So it gives the building department a little oversight over these items that show up on people's property, recognizing homeowners may wish to use them and need to use them on occasion, but also the neighbor's right to not have these kind of turn into permanent structures. So right now would be, if you want to open up for public comment, if anybody from the public has any comment at that point, whether any village board members do. Otherwise, I have a proposed resolution ready to go once we conclude tonight.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak?
I don't think I asked before.
Okay, we're good. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let me summarize the resolution.
Sure.
So just summarizing the resolution, this has been circulated. There's a resolution to adopt local law number 1 of 2019, amending chapter 266 of the zoning code of the village of Suffern, defining and regulating temporary storage containers and dumpsters. The board has referred this to county planning. We received county planning comments. They have no comments. We circulated this pursuant to SECRA. This is a type 2 action, so no further environmental review is required. And based upon the findings, I asked the board to, so if somebody is interested in adopting a motion as set forth in the proposed resolution.
Do I have a motion on the proposed resolution adopting local law 1 of 2019, amending chapter 266 of the zoning code of the village of Suffern, defining and regulating temporary storage containers and dumpsters in the village?
Motion.
Seconded by?
Second.
Who's it first?
Who's the first? I'm sorry, there was a tie.
Hertz.
Okay.
Why, you can see it on the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you for your hard work on this. This was the longest one. Okay. Okay, next we have a public hearing. What time is it? 7:52, continuation of public hearing to consider a local law establishing school zone signage on Suffern Place at Akrul Durol Asan. I said that pretty well.
That's a continuation.
So I have a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing. Yes.
No, I thought we were continuing it because there's nothing else that we can do.
We're going to open it, we're going to close it and adjourn it. Motion to open.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak on it? Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing. Have a motion to close?
Motion.
Seconded by
Second.
Ms. Hertzman. Now I have a go ahead.
Is the intention to revisit this another time?
Yes, you need to.
No, I don't think we're going to
Oh, we're
continue.
not?
We're not going to continue.
No continuation.
that's
It's going to be renoticed.
We'll have to do
Right,
it.
it would be renoticed.
Right.
You could do it either way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's it.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
You may want, if you're going to, apparently the intention of the board is not to vote on this, which is
No.
fine. If it comes up again, it will have to be renoticed.
Correct. Okay. Okay, number 6, public
I don't think there
hearing
was a vote. Was there, did you finalize the vote on it?
for,
To close?
close it, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So now 7:53, open a public hearing to consider Park Avenue sidewalks CDBG project application. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Fred Rella.
Yeah, I'll just give a brief description of what this public hearing is about. This has to do with the Community Development Block Grant, which is an annual opportunity that the Village of Suffern has to apply for some HUD funding through the Rockland County Office of Community Development. We've done like the Wayne Avenue Sidewalk Project, the downtown facade revitalization project, and alike. The idea for the grant opportunity that we're going to be putting forth comes from the Citizen Advisory Committee, which is a mandate for applying for this grant, and that's made up of people within the community. Those people are Dina Schmidt, Francis Clerk, Kathy Van Sickle, Charlie Rogers, Charles Sawicki from the DPW, and myself. And we looked at a few opportunities, and the one that we came up with, which we are going to be pursuing, is new sidewalks, curbs, and driveway aprons from East Maple Avenue to East Park Lane on both sides of the street.
Perfect.
Cost of that project is approximately $110,000.
Okay. And our contribution is 10%.
Is 10%. Yes, the grant itself will be applying for $100,000, and the village will be contributing 10. 100 plus 10 is 110.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before you should have a resolution.
I have it.
Okay.
Yep. So I have the resolution accepting the Village of Suffern Citizen Advisory Committee recommendation for the 2019 Park Avenue Sidewalk Project. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
You have that?
Steve.
Steve. And seconded by
Second.
Mr. Hagen. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Rella. Building Department Suffering Code Initiative presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Village Board.
Good evening, Mr. Conley.
This is just a quick overview of the Suffern Code Initiative, which was undertaken by the village last year. And it's just to give you an overview of what we've done so far and where we're headed and any questions. You know, obviously, I believe you all have a copy of the initiative, so
Yes, thank you.
we can kind of refer to that and what the goals are, you know, just to enhance the village, desirable living for the residents, and just keep the village running and clean and hopefully under control. We've been actively enforcing the codes, following up on complaints, violations, and any concerns of the residents. If they call, we try to get out there as quickly as we can. Any things that we see, we have the two code enforcement officers, Randy Ortiz, Mike Stark, who are actively out there pretty much every evening and weekends. When they see something, they act on it immediately. And if we get calls, we act on it. We pass it on to them, and they continue with that. And over the course of the year, they've issued 219 what we call nicey nice letters, which is just like a warning to let you know that you have a problem contact us and we'll work with you to try to resolve it. And without that, and like along with that, we've issued 226 violation notices. Those are a little bit more forceful. It's just more, it's still a warning, but it's a warning that's, the next step will be an appearance ticket, where a nice letter is just, hey, we want your attention, work with us. We'll try to resolve this without taking the next step. Let's see what else we have. Again, you see something, say something, call us. We're there. That's what we're there for, is to handle these complaints, any concerns you have. We do try to keep up on as quickly as we can. Some of them we realize may take a little longer than we all really want it to, but there's a process we have to go through. We just can't run out and have it done immediately the next day. It just doesn't happen that often. Sometimes it does, but not very often. We have Randy, I believe, set up a training program with some of the fire department, and the police officers.
Yep.
Things that they may not be aware, but let us know about it so we can act on it. Just things to look for in that respect. We have the stuff on the web, complaint forms that can be filled out. Again, you can call us. We can act on it. And that's just about it, really. You know, and like I say, we are here. Well, you have of course, the different zones in the property. Which, you know, we've got 1, 2, and multifamily zones, which have different requirements, different regulations as far as when we review it for setbacks from the property lines, for additions, modifications to the property. And we have the business districts, central business, general business district, and we have the TDD district, which is where the new apartment building is going up. And again, MR15, MR50 zones for, you know, different high-rise and low-rise apartment buildings. So, but any concerns that anybody has, call us, come in and see us. We're there. Door is open. So if anybody has any questions? Or?
I'd like to touch on a couple of items here that, you know, over the past couple of years that I've been mayor, and the code initiative that we adopted, and working closely with you and Randy and Mike on your staff, it really does work. Just the mere fact of the number of letters that have been written, the nicey nice letters, which is a great effective way to get people to comply. That's what we'd like to do. We like to seek compliance before we start with the violations, and usually, as you said, the compliance falls in line with the nicey nice letter. The number of violations, as you can see, we're proactive in that with violating people if they don't conform to the nicey nice letter. The see something, say something. That's what I stress to every village resident that I come in contact with, because they say, oh, I saw a pothole. And I have a perfect example. I have a lady here from the village that calls me right away. She lets me know what's going on, and I get that information to the appropriate authority. If it's a pothole, if it's overgrown grass, whatever it may be. The cross-training of the Suffern Police Department and the Suffern Fire Department is critical to when the fire department gets into a residence, when there's an issue or a fire, or the police department is in there on some other type of issue, that they're able to recognize violations that may exist, such as overcrowding, faulty wiring, whatever it may be. That's the way that we're able to get in and do an inspection. Am I correct on that?
Yes, you
are. I'm telling you, that's critical to preserving the code and preserving the village of Suffern at the same time. The complaint forms that are online, these are all things that we really develop to make the public aware, and that's what we have to do. It's like an awareness program that we have to continue on, and I believe that you guys also are doing a great job in code enforcement, and I thank you. Thank you.
We try. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mainly, I got to give a lot of credit to Randy and Mike, because those are the guys that are out there.
Right.
That are really, in the trenches, so to speak.
Right. Great job. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Fire Department, Chief.
Good evening. Just have a couple things. Update from the fire department. Just last year, the fire department responded to 343 alarms. That's the total for last year. We have our resolutions for the hose company fundraiser.
Yes, resolution authorizing hose company number 1 to hold the annual football fundraiser on January 20th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Just a note on the third item, it's not discussion to discuss the fire department line officers, it's discussion with them.
Oh, okay.
And that's all I have.
Sorry about that. Great job in the Suffern Fire Department in 2018, you know, outstanding performances. Once again, I can't, you know, through every department, we recognize what you men and women do for the village of Suffern, and volunteerism is great. I mean, the Suffern Fire Department is all volunteer. Great job.
We have a lot of people.
And, you know, we're here working with you, so keep up the great work. Thank you. Culture and Recreation. Ms. Mills.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. A few things that we have coming up. In Leo Leiden on Saturdays in January, AARP will be giving training to their tax people so they can go out to the community and do free tax advice to residents starting in February. Health and wellness programs, we have a lot of programs coming up. We try to promote it by putting it out on the 2 signs that we have here in the village, and we're going to start another constant contact, getting the word out. So Nancy's really prepping to get a lot of programs out there to the community. We're really looking forward to that. And we have Elaine at the center and Andrea, and we're really looking forward to working with the community on the health and wellness programs. The Point of Time event is coming up on January 24th. As I spoke at the workshop, this is an event that with the Western Collaborative, which is a group that meets upstairs in the community room, they're going to be meeting at All Souls Church, and All Souls Church is going to be the host for the afternoon. And the time that I had is incorrect. I had 6 to 9 p.m. I'll make sure I tell Chief Osborne. It's actually 11 to 6, which means that they're going to be accepting people over to All Souls, giving out donations, giving out anything that people might need.
11
a.m. to 6, yes.
Okay.
Yep, 11 to 6. So it's just a nice community event. It's changed from just counting the homeless, which if you'll start to see other communities are doing it. We're doing it from 11 to 6, and it's also offering help to people that need it. Center for Safety and Change is using the community center on Sunday, January 27th, and it's going to be from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. They are going to be calling out to volunteers to help pack bags of needed supplies and supplies that are donated, and it's just going to be a nice community event. You'll start to see information on that coming out, but it's just a nice opportunity to get people in the community out to volunteer. So that's on Sunday, January 27th. The fire department will be using the community center on Sunday, February 17th, and they'll be using that to do a defensive driving course for the fire department members. The list, Amy, I don't know if you got the events. So the list of 2019 events, we like to get that to the board so you can all see what we have coming up. We're going to be very busy again this year. We're looking forward to it. We have all of our events from the Easter hunt, which is the first one, down to Pearl Harbor ceremony, which is at the very end of the year. So we're looking forward to working with the board, working with the public on those events. And then 3 items now I have for discussion. Clifford Theater, Mayor, I believe you might have the contract in front of you. It's for the 2019 show. I would like to have the approval to go ahead with the show, and then in February, I believe it's February 6th, the director of the Clifford Theater will have a viewing and a review, and they're going to tell everybody what the show is. So the contract is there, and then I would just need to get a check cut tomorrow after that approval to be able to get the rights for the show.
So this is for Clifford Theater?
For Clifford
Okay.
Theater for the summer performance, yes.
Okay. And we're not disclosing the performance?
I'd like to not to.
Okay. So if everyone was here thinking we were going to disclose it, we're not.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so we have to give the amount. So we want to push that out now for approval. Yeah.
So you want to make that,
Okay.
approve the contract based on?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Musical Theater International in the amount of $1,355 for the Clifford Theater production of,
Dun, dun, dun.
they never disclose it. So that would be the motion. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Paul, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Hagen. Perfect.
Thank you very much. And just as a note, $400.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes.
Just as a note, $400 of that is a deposit. The last couple of years now, we've been so good with returning all of the books and the material that we get. We've been getting the deposit back. So that $400 of that will be deposited, hopefully coming back to us. So I just
Okay.
wanted to mention that.
Perfect.
The next item I'd like to bring up, Broadway tickets. As most of you know, we do 2 shows a year. We do one in the spring, we do one in the fall. We look to get tickets that we can purchase at a good price and then add on $15 for a bus ride. And then it's a wash for the village. The village doesn't pay any money for these events. So I'd like to request that we can purchase tickets for a March 30th show of the show Kinky Boots.
So that's a formal request now to the board?
Yes.
Because we don't have the detail. Do we have the detail?
I don't have that. I typically have not given that. I can get that tomorrow. The dollar amount I did not bring. But what we usually do is it literally is the money that goes out comes back in.
Okay, so do I have a motion to purchase the Broadway tickets for Kinky Boots at no cost
I know, I hate
to the village? And it's the village residents first?
Correct. We will be putting this out on a certain date after tonight's approval. We will figure out the best date to do it.
Right.
It will be open to village residents first because the shows have become so popular that we want to give the residents first choice to get the tickets. Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Great.
Thank you very much. And the last item, it came up just yesterday, so I wanted to bring it up today. We have 8 tables at the community center. They are large. Think of the heaviest tables that you could imagine, the old-time metal tables. I would like to surplus them and get rid of them from the village and give them to somebody that might need them. Christ Church next door that does the thrift shop and the food kitchen can use these tables. If we can surplus them and to unload them from the village to offer it to them, that would be a great help to the community center, and I believe a big help to them. So I reached out to Rob, and I was just speaking with Mike. If we can do a surplus, we can work on getting rid of them fairly soon.
You don't use the tables, ever?
You know what, we have 4 that have been under the stage for, Elaine, how long? Years. And then we have 4 heavy ones that the last time we probably used them was about 3 years ago. They just kind of get moved around in the center, and in the sake of us moving them, we have gotten some tables from Ace that are the new plexi or the lighter tables. Just for an example, the heavy ones that we're getting rid of probably are about 45 pounds. The ones that we're purchasing are like 20 pounds. They're easy
That
to
also
move.
aids into the employee setting them up and taking them down and
yes.
not,
Yeah.
I know there's a weight restriction in regards to lifting.
They are tremendous. They are
Right.
so heavy, we just rather not have them. They can use them. If we can surplus them, that would be a great help.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to surplus 8 round,
Nope, rectangle tables.
rectangle, I'm sorry, the rectangle. 8 rectangle wooden
Yeah.
old tables.
Yes.
Okay.
Put it that.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hagen, is that it?
Yes.
Seconded by
Second.
Mr. Girard. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
And that is it. Thank you very much.
And once again, for 2018, another successful department run here, you know, in regards to parades, Easter egg hunts, Halloween painting, health and wellness program, which is really taking off. Another great job by your staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
We're getting there. Mr. Fred Rella.
Good evening, again. For those of you who are college football fans, the score is 0-0 with Alabama-Clemson right now, first quarter. It's the national championship game tonight. You heard me talk the past couple months about the Division of Criminal Justice Services and how we received a grant for $7,000, $5,000 for DARE, $2,000 for the Clifford Theater. We just recently received an award for $5,000 more from the Division of Criminal Justice Services, $3,000 for DARE, $2,000 for the Clifford Theater. And this is a reimbursement grant, and I'll be able to now, since it was just approved by the state, put in for that reimbursement of funds. So that was good to hear. One other thing I just want to mention is the Environmental Facility Corps. Recently, we mentioned that for 3 grants, we received $565,000, which involved wastewater treatment, primarily, and the DPW. And we, at the workshop, we put in some paperwork. You did a resolution, and we put in paperwork where we could be reapplying for one grant for a project. The project's $8.8 million with a potential grant opportunity of $2.2 million with market rate financing. So that went up to the EFC, and we received acknowledgement on Friday that they received the paperwork that when that grant gets floated in the springtime, that we're going to be in the ball game to win it. So that's it.
Great, thank you, Fred. And we've been doing very well with receiving grants and funding some projects, capital projects, and equipment. So thank you, doing a great job. Okay, I'd like to open it up to audience participation. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak?
Joe Magrino, 65 Wayne Avenue. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mr. Magrino.
At 50 Wayne Avenue, this is a consistent problem. At the bottom of the driveway, there's a storm drain that's always clogged up. When it does clog up, it ponds really bad. We just got a new roadway in there, and I mean, the ponding's so bad people could hydroplane. We've been very fortunate this winter so far that nothing has frozen on that road. Otherwise, it'd be an ice skating rink. I wanted to know if somebody could address this and get over there and clear that drain. It's next to the utility pole on the bottom of the hill of the driveway of 50 Wayne Avenue.
We already did address that, I believe. Mr. Zawicki, can you speak to that, to the, that catch basin at the bottom of 50 Wayne?
Yes. Unfortunately, that basin doesn't go anywhere. It's not connected to anything. We, as everyone knows, we're awaiting approval for the grant for Wayne Avenue, and we're, as part of that project, we want to see what can be done there. We might be able to do some type of dry well where we can collect that amount of water in that particular location, but there's nowhere to tie into anywhere close. So that's,
I know. I think we dig it out once.
Yeah. We did last fall.
All right. So if we could keep that in mind when we do the sidewalk project in the spring, like you said, if we can tie it into not tie it in, but create a dry well or whatever.
Yeah, I think we can accommodate the amount of water that accumulates there. That's one option that we could look at.
Okay. All right. Just keep that in mind when we're approaching that project.
The other thing being, I know that this was addressed with Joe when he was up as a trustee. That traffic light again, we coming down from Washington, and in my opinion, I don't think they put any type of a timer or any type of a delayed green that we were looking for.
I think they initially did, and it's not there now. And it was only a delay on the green signal. They lengthened the green signal heading towards the church.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Right.
I think it went back to
Yeah.
the normal frequency.
Yeah. Because, the request was just so that at least 5 to 10 seconds worth of time.
Right.
Alleviate 20 cars that are there. Let them make their left-hand turns and go, east towards the thruway or wherever which way they had to go. And then the other side could go northbound on
Exactly.
Washington, so.
Charles, can we also note that and see if we can reach out to the DOT again to figure out something to do with that light? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magrino. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak? Okay, let's move on. Mr. Zawicki, Department of Public Works, please.
Good evening. I want to provide an update on the Memorial Drive road closure. Sections of the Mawa Riverbank along Memorial Drive has eroded significantly, resulting in a public safety concern. As a result, that section of roadway has been closed. The County Highway Department has evaluated that section of Memorial Drive, and took a look at what options were available. Did make a recommendation. Their recommendation was to convert Memorial Drive temporarily to a one-way, traffic flowing from Orchard to Utopian. So I know the mayor has reached out to the county to see if we can get some assistance in rectifying the issues on Memorial. This would be a temporary measure until we can make resolution on what can be done there. And it's a significant problem because the roadway, the one lane is very close to the river.
Right, so as you stated, that it's a significant issue. I know that the county has indicated that we would not be able to rebuild the river embankment to the road because of the proximity to the river and how it would encroach into the river. That wouldn't be allowed. So it was determined, as you stated, to close that one portion, that one side of the road and redirect traffic in a one-way, at the same time not impacting police or fire services, which we analyzed today with the chief of the fire department and the chief of the police department. So there's no concern. The health, safety, and welfare of the village residents was considered in this closure, and so was the traffic patterns, barricading off the one lane with the cement block barriers, and proper signage and detours were put into effect by your staff, correct?
Yes, and we're worked on that today. We'll continue to work on that tomorrow. We should have that completed midweek.
And all the proper notifications were sent out?
Well, we, as of yet, we're working on the notification as well. So
Okay.
we'll have the notification out prior to redirecting the traffic.
Okay.
So the one-way on Memorial is going to go from Orchard, in the direction from Orchard to the ball field?
Yes.
Or to the pool?
Yes.
Okay. And the other side is going to be detoured, the other direction?
Yes.
And the standard route for fire response was down 202 to Orchard, down onto the bridge to get into that area, Suffern across to the Knolls. So we're all covered in that.
Is there any other questions on that? I am requesting payment authorization for application for payment number 2 in the amount of $4,745.25 to Tilcon New York, Inc. for the roadway improvement Phase 9 project.
So I have that resolution authorizing payment to Tilcon, New York for the roadway improvement Phase 9 project. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Hertzman, second by
Second.
Mr. Hagen. Any discussion? Is this the last payment?
No, there'll be one additional payment, and will be for retainage.
Okay. Anyone else?
I was just curious if you could elaborate what Phase 9 entails. 'Cause I'm not-
Okay, so going from memory here, so that was the area Boulevard. We had section of Hillside. We had Prospect.
Center.
Center Street.
So this work was already done, I think.
That was the
right?
work that was done just this past fall.
Yeah, I saw the work being done. Okay. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Am requesting authorization for Stanley Brinsky to attend Hudson Valley Waterworks Grade A Competent Lab course on February 26th, 2019 in Middletown, New York at a cost of $75.
Do I have a motion, a resolution authorizing Stanley Dobrinsky to attend the Hudson Valley Waterworks Grade A Compliant Lab Course, February 26, 2019, in Middletown, New York? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Hertzman, second.
Second.
Mr. Alpert, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
Excuse me. I am requesting to publicly advertise bids for the sanitary sewer abatement Phase 2 project. The bids would be due in February 5th at 3 o'clock.
Well, I think we had discussed the resolution that we have doesn't have a set date, because I know you just sent me the documents today, so I'll definitely take a look, but after we've had an opportunity to review it, then they'll go out in accordance with, bid, the timing. So as I discussed with Charles, I think we had this discussion earlier today.
Right.
We just don't want to have that, deadline. It might have to go out a couple days, depending upon if there have to be any changes, but.
Okay.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing Charles Sawicki to publicly advertise for bid solicitations for Phase 2 sanitary sewer abatement project. Yeah.
Yes.
No, take it
Okay.
out. Yes, yes.
Yes, take it out. Got it.
Yes, take it out. So where are you?
I'm sorry, at the bottom.
Right, be further resolved.
And there's two.
Oh, I see. Okay, with the resolution on the now therefore be it resolved, we will remove, it will end at the acting village attorney for review, and the be it further resolved will be removed for the confirmation. No?
Just remove the capital project committee.
Capital
from that one also.
project. I'm sorry. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Hagen, do I second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting the board to declare the Village of Suffern lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, (SECRA), for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and plug flow modification project.
Right, yeah, this came up, Charles asked me to take a look at it. There was a SECRA action performed on this back in June. We're seeking EFC funding, a grant and/or financing, correct? So they took a look at it, and the previous SECRA determination really hadn't been circulated. So tonight's resolution pursuant to SECRA would be, there's already been what's called a full environmental assessment form, part 1, that's been filled out by Charles with the help of our consultants. This is a resolution where the village board's declaring its intention to be lead agency. What happens from here, a lead agency coordination letter will be sent out and circulated to the agencies involved, the New York EFC, the New York State DEC, we're going to send it to County Planning, New York State Historic Preservation Office, and We wait 30 days for their comments. Presumably, nobody else will want to be lead agency. The village will do that, and then we'll proceed from there. And this mostly is a requirement of the EFC, so we can apply for that funding. So that's why we're here and doing it again.
So I have the resolution here to declare the Village of Suffern as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and plug flow modification project. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Girard. Second?
Second.
Mr. Hagen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization for a sole source purchase order to be issued for the restoration of the wastewater treatment plant ultraviolet disinfection unit number 2 with the replacement of UV bulbs, ballast, and associated electrical wiring in the amount of $46,310 issued to Ironbound UV.
I have a resolution authorizing sole source purchase order to Ironbrook UV for the restoration and repair of ultraviolet disinfection unit number 2 in the wastewater treatment department. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
Requesting the board to accept the resignation of Thomas Martin from his laborer's position effective December 28th, 2018.
I have the resolution accepting the resignation of Thomas Martin as laborer effective December 28, 2018. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Getting through the alphabet. Hello, Mr. Janito.
Oh, good evening, Mayor.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, I'm sorry. And I just want to say, for closing out 2018 in regards to the DPW, another fantastic department that we have here. And it's, you know, with Joe Hunt in the back, Charles Zawicki and the entire staff. Larry's here. I mean, everybody, once again, doing a great job. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Mayor, first off, just an update on the New York State Volunteer Firefighter Cancer Benefit Program. We've received our proof of coverage, or documentation of coverage from the Hartford Insurance Company, and we're moving along, waiting for the fire chiefs to give me the representative from the fire department to assist in submitting all the other documents that are necessary. Some of these documents require certification as to a firefighter's eligibility, meaning their participation in the fire department, which obviously they would have and they must keep anyway. So they will work on that end of it, and I'll work, of course, on the insurance side of it. Together we'll get it done.
Great, thank you for that. I know that was a big undertaking at the last minute.
Yes.
That was kind of unusual, but thank you for doing that.
Right, the legislation, as a matter of fact, when we called the State Office of Fire Protection to get some guidance, they said that the legislation had gone through without their input, and therefore they were even struggling to make sure that they did everything according to the legislation. So we are working on it. The next item is a resolution that's going to authorize myself and Amy Paffenroth, as her capacity as the Deputy Treasurer, to be authorized signers for a key bank account for New Jersey Transit Park and Ride Contingency Savings Account. The quick background on this is when we had the parking authority, this account was required and certain funds go into it. They actually belong to New Jersey Transit, but we are authorized to then use those funds with New Jersey Transit's authority to make certain improvements and corrections to our parking facilities, particularly on their lot. Over the course of the history of the parking authority, as you know, it was merged into the Village of Suffern. During that process, the two signers on the account are obviously no longer there. And in fact, the bank, when we called them, Key Bank, didn't even have a record of the account, couldn't locate it until we dug much deeper into it. Ultimately, what they did is they said they needed a letter that was notarized from the village indicating that new signers would be there, and that would be myself and as the treasurer, and Amy Paffenroth as the deputy treasurer.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing Michael Janito and Amy Paffenroth as authorized signers of the Key Bank, New Jersey Transit Park and Ride contingency account. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
The next resolution is to amend the general fund budget to reflect the fact that the Clifford Theater has generated a certain number of donations and, of course, the grant, which were not included in the original budget. And these funds obviously are used for the Clifford Theater. So this is going to propose amending the general fund budget to increase the appropriations for the Clifford Theater by $4,341. And that's going to be reflected by revenues we've already received, $2,000 from the state aid for Clifford Theater, which was actually done through the DARE program.
The grant program.
And the estimated revenues from theater donations that we received, which was $2,341.
So I have a motion, a resolution here amending the 2018-2019 general fund budget for Clifford Theater revenues and expenditures. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hagen. You had Paul. Mr. Girard and Mr. Hagen. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
The next resolution is, as you know, the village was looking to replace some obsolete motor vehicles, passenger vehicles, one for the fire inspector, one for the building inspector's office, one for the parking department, and the fire department needed a new chief's vehicle. So the three vehicles for the parking department, the fire inspector, and for the building inspector were sorted out as Ford Escapes. This is on the recommendation of the Public Works Department in terms of passenger vehicles. And the fire department went out and got a mini bid on a Tahoe, a Chevy Tahoe, for a fire chief's vehicle. So all of these went out through the mini bid process, which is the new process that's used in New York State to go out and bid vehicles. And the low bidders, there was a New York State mini bid award of $65,976.84 for 3 2019 Ford Escapes. And we had another mini bid for the Tahoe that came in at $35,767.17 as the low bid. And we're recommending that these bids be awarded to the respective bidders, low bidders.
So I have a resolution authorizing the purchase of passenger vehicles as described. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Girard, second.
Second.
Mr. Hagen, any discussion?
I do have a quick question. I noticed that the bid, at least in the case of the Escapes, was a dealer that was, I believe, down south. I can't recall now if it was Alabama or something like that. Does that pose any issue with getting the vehicles delivered here, or is there no issue?
I believe, Mr. Gino, that they participate in the mini bid.
Joe Hunt
Right.
put out the bids, but yeah, the bids are for delivery here.
Include delivery here.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to hear. I just wanted
Okay, that's good.
That's good.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Part of that purchase of those, since the money wasn't provided in this year's budget, normally we would do it in this fashion anyway, create a capital project for the purchase of these vehicles. In fact, that's in accordance with New York State Office of State Comptroller's guidelines. And so we established that project as part of that resolution. And the financing for these comes through people often refer to as a capital lease, but in the parlance of New York State government, it's an installment purchase contract. So we went out for quotes on installment purchase contracts. Three firms quoted it. The low quote was for a 3-year contract, installment purchase contract, at a tax-exempt rate of 3.665%. And just so that you know, these are specifically set up as municipal installment purchase contracts. The payments are what they call annual in arrears, meaning the payments are due at the end of the first year, second year, third year. And the reason why it's a 3-year is because the life of the installment purchase contract can't be more than the life that's established in the local finance law, period of probable usefulness, for passenger vehicles, which is 3 years.
Perfect. So I have a resolution authorizing the village treasurer to sign installment purchase contracts for the financing of the 2019 passenger vehicles. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Hertzman, second.
Second.
Mr. Hagen, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for all your hard work that you've been giving the village too across 2018. It's a really great team effort here. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Okay.
This one on the
Ms. Paffenroth.
Didn't we just do this one?
I'm sorry. What are you talking? I'm sorry.
We did do both, the one with,
Yes.
for Mike to sign?
Yes.
Okay.
The next resolution, periodically, the Office of the New York State Controller requires the governing body to establish the standard workday for reporting days to the New York State local retirement system. The resolution in front of you establishes the workdays for employees. It also establishes the standard workday for appointed and elected officials, and in accordance with the section 315.4 record of activities, the hours reported for an elected or appointed official can be no less than 6 hours and no more than 8 hours. So the resolution in front of you reflects the standard hours that will be reported to the New York State retirement system.
So I have the resolution authorizing the standard workday for employees and elected or appointed officials for New York State Retirement System reporting requirements. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hagen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Great. Mr. Hagen, are you well enough to speak?
I asked Amy if she would.
Oh,
say
okay.
something.
Okay.
Mr. Hagen deferred to me to read a statement that was prepared. This is in regard to the naming of Point Park in honor of Dave Clifford. Dave Clifford was born in 1932 in Suffern. He grew up and attended Suffern schools. He left to serve in the Navy during the Korean War. He came home and joined VFW Post 2973 in 1957. That post being the same post that his father, a World War I vet, had established in 1934. He married and raised 4 children, all of whom attended Suffern schools. Dave's passion for the village of Suffern was unsurpassed. He worked for the parking authority for many years. He always wanted this village to look its best. He wanted to preserve past history as well as keep the present history alive. His truck could be seen throughout the village. He loaded up chairs, speakers, and podiums to be set up for many events in the village. Mr. Clifford was involved with the recent renovations that were done to the veterans portion of Airmont Cemetery. The area was completely cleaned, new benches were installed, as well as a new flagpole, and the roadway was repaved. Dave wanted to improve the parks and monuments throughout the village. However, sadly, he passed away in August of 2018 before his dreams could be accomplished. The members of VFW Post 2973 have been working hard to make Dave Clifford's dreams come true. Many changes and improvements have been implemented, including the following. In September of 2018, plaques were placed near the Suffern football field dedicated to 2 graduates of Suffern High who died serving their country in Vietnam. The Soldiers Monument at Lafayette and Washington Avenue received a facelift. New sidewalks were installed, as well as repairs to the steps and the stone walls. A new monument, as well as a new flagpole and benches, were placed at Memorial Park, dedicated to all veterans and to enhance the park. At Point Park, a new monument was installed to honor all veterans, including those who are still fighting the global war on terrorism. New benches were installed, as well as new lighting to illuminate the flag. The members of VFW Post 2973 are proud that they were able to accomplish these projects and make Dave's vision complete. What a better way to honor one of Suffern's own than to rename the Point Park Dave Clifford Memorial Park. Frank Hagen would like to thank the Village Board for this consideration, and he especially would like to thank the members of the DPW who helped make Dave Clifford's dream come true.
That's very touching, and we've been working with Dave Clifford and Tim McEnany and the VFW Post 2973, along with the American Legion, Post 859, all the veterans who step up here, especially Dave Clifford over his life, how he served his country, his village, and his family is just an outstanding testament to Dave Clifford. And unfortunately, he passed away and wasn't able to see the benefits of his post, the post in being the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So, I also recommend that we consider naming Point Park what was the specific term? The Dave Clifford Memorial Park. So this is consideration. I'd like the whole board to consider it and come up with some ideas and help assist the village, along with Mr. McEnany, who is the commander of the VFW 2973, and remembering Dave Clifford. So if anyone else wants to chime in on that proposal, it would be nice. And if anyone from the public would like to chime in on it, I'd appreciate it. No? Okay. Well deserved. That's a member of the American Legion, Mr. Mr. Gianatino, also a veteran, and knew Dave Clifford well himself, as we all did here in the veteran community. So I would like for the board to consider that, and we will definitely reconvene on it. Any other trustees? Mr. Alpert, Mr. Girard, Mrs. Hertzman? No, we're all good. Okay, the mayor, we're breaking the record here. Let's see. We'll be out before 9. Update, the Squires Gate FEMA grant application. We're scheduling a meeting in January with DISH's Department of Homeland Security and with the residents and to determine a grant project lead role that needs to help us in this undertaking. And we're also going to conduct a survey once again with Squires Gate residents to determine the interest in either an acquisition program or an elevation program if they are eligible for elevation. There's only a certain number of homes that are eligible for elevation, so we continue to work on that. The Army Corps of Engineers will be meeting in the village of Suffern with Congresswoman Nita Lowy, Senator David Carlucci, and Assemblywoman Ellen Jaffe, and we'll be scheduling that between January 16th and January 25th to continue to discuss flood mitigation options in the Squires Gate community. As you know, this has been going on for many years, but we continue to push forward. So on those notes, I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone. I hope we'll have another successful, good year here in the village of Suffern. Thank you for coming out. And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Anyone?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you very much.